saying this war should end through negotiation. This war should respect Russia's security interests as well as Ukraine's security interests. This, to my mind, is absolutely the way to end this war. And I believe that if China, India, Brazil, South Africa, Indonesia, and other countries around the G20 table say clearly, peace. We need peace. We need a negotiated end. That message can be heard. It's the right message. It's fair. It is practical. It is implementable. It's safe for the world. So to my mind, this is a real opportunity of major countries to say to both sides, sit down and resolve this thing in a mutually satisfactory way. Stop escalating. It's not the popular position in the United States. Most people don't have the experience that I have of having been involved in these issues for 30 years firsthand. So I was an advisor to President Gorbachev. I was an advisor to President Yeltsin. I was an advisor to President Kuchma of Ukraine. I was an advisor to President Yushchenko of Ukraine. I've been involved in this all along. I want all sides of this to succeed. I don't want enemies of one side or another. I really don't like the idea of banishing Russia. My whole idea of, as an advisor more than 30 years ago, was help Russia to become a normal, cooperative partner in development. That was Gorbachev's idea, and I was quite inspired by that then, and I still think it's the right idea. So I say these things, then people push back, no, that's not true. But the fact of the matter is I've seen it with my own eyes. Others may read what they do in the US press, but I have the firsthand experience. Rich countries have three kinds of responsibilities. First, for historical emissions. The climate today is deranged and degraded because of the rich countries in the past. So that's a historical responsibility. Then there is an ongoing responsibility. The rich countries emit far more greenhouse gases per capita than the poor countries. This is a current issue, and the United States is still emitting 15 tons of carbon dioxide per person. And in India, it's below 2 tons per capita, if I remember the most recent data correctly. And so this is a huge, huge gap. And that's a general truth, that the rich countries still are the major emitters. But even within the rich, there's a difference of Europe and the United States. The US is really a heavy emitter. So that's the second responsibility. The third responsibility is financial, and that is that the current economic system favors the rich over the poor. The rich pay low interest costs when they borrow, the poor pay sky-high usury costs. And the rich have a responsibility to rectify this situation so that finance works for everybody. That's what the G20 central mission should be. So in this sense, if you ask, are the rich doing enough? Not by a very long distance. They're not respecting their historical responsibility, they're not respecting their current responsibility, and they're not solving the financial crisis. All of those should be part of a solution. Well, India's role is basically to develop in a smart way. So India is building out electrification. There's a lot more to come. India is going to need a lot more power in the future, but it should be clean power. By the way, that's vital for India for even the most direct reason that the air pollution in this country, especially in the north, is so bad that even if it weren't climate, the need to clean up the pollution is extremely urgent. So that's one reason. Second, of course, this country gets very hot in the springtime, and we're seeing temperatures of 50 degrees C being reached. We're seeing mega heat waves. We're seeing drought conditions. India is really threatened by global forces. And so India absolutely needs to be in the forefront of saying to all of the countries, you have to do this together. We will do this together with you. India has proposed a massive transformation of the Indian economy, but it has also said, where's the finance? Why are we paying 7 or 8% interest rates, whereas you, the US and Europe, are paying 2 or 3% interest rates? Come on, we will do our part, but we need a system that works. So these are the issues at the center of the G20 agenda. This is definitely a business-directed government in that it thinks at scale. So this government says we're going to electrify every village in the country. This government says we're going to ensure digital access for everybody. This government thinks in terms of solutions at the scale of 1.4 billion people. And that's what I meant by a business-like government that is thinking at scale, planning at scale, and it's happening. We're closer to that today than in 2005 in that China, a country the same size as India's population, 1.4 billion, went from pervasive extreme poverty to ending poverty. So China did that. India is on a path to doing it right now. Africa lags behind by quite a distance and needs to leapfrog now. India can help Africa to do that with the especially massive deployment of digital technologies for healthcare, for education, for basic economics. We're in worse situation than in 2005 on the environment because we've had 18 years of much too little action. So the environmental crisis is a much deeper crisis now than even 2 decades ago. Why didn't we end poverty by 2025? Because the effort was not made. The certain processes worked in the right direction, certain countries worked in the right direction, but in the United States, we were absolutely distracted by too many wars, too much geopolitics, not enough practical attention to solutions. And at the global level, we really left behind some of the poorest people in the world. So what could have been done wasn't done. On the other hand, the goal of ending extreme poverty now is not just in my book in 2005, it was taken up by the whole world in 2015. It's SDG number 1, the first sustainable development goal, end extreme poverty. So at least we have it on the global agenda. Clearly, we even have a timeline, 2030. It's not going to be achieved by 2030, unfortunately, again, because we don't have the implementation organized properly. But I'm here today to make exactly that point to the Sherpas, that if you get organized, properly finance these strategies, then we can achieve the goals that we've set. Well, I'm basically arguing with one point of view, which is what we call the neocons or the neoconservatives, who say that America should dominate the world, or America should be the global hegemon. And I'm saying America should learn to cooperate properly with the rest of the world. The days of a hegemon are over. The days of the US-led world are over. They don't know that yet, but that's the reality. And so when I say these things with regard to the war in Ukraine, or with regard to the US-China tensions, or with regard to global finance, they're not easily accepted in Washington, because the mindset in Washington is still to lead the world, but in an American way, not in a cooperative way. And this is outmoded. So it will take some time, but reality will